know that HR professionals are required to have necessary knowledge about employment contracts and service conditions like provident fund, house rent allowance, leaves, working hours, and others. In short, wherever there are employment-related terms or benefits or conditions, the relevant laws will apply. Any rights, obligations, disputes arising out of the employment agreement have to be kept in mind by the HR. They are the ones managing the employees, therefore, they need to know the terms and conditions assured to the employees and their obligations under the Payments of Bonus Act, Equal Remuneration Act, Payment of Gratuity Act, Employees Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provisions Act, Employee State Insurance Act, Maternity Benefit Act, and other laws related to it. With that being said, we have the Labor Code of the Philippines, which contains 7 books that we are going to discuss today. And here are their insights.
The first book in the Labor Code of the Philippines, which is generalized as the pre-employment section, tackles about the terms and conditions of employment, wherein Filipino workers must have a stable working setup and OFWs are under the protection of the state. Further, this book talks about enhancing such programs for the betterment of its employment. For example, implementing a work-based intervention program like EAP or Employee Assistance Program can help the workers maintain their interest inside a certain workplace and can also benefit their working condition. The second book in the Labor Code of the Philippines, which is generalized as the Human Resource Development Program section. For example, in Article 47 is the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority or TESDA, the government agency tasked to manage and supervise technical education and skills development in the Philippines. Its responsibilities include approving skills standards and examinations, developing an accreditation system for institutions participating in middle-level manpower development, funding technical education and skills development programs, and assisting trainers in their training. Through its direction, policies, and programs, it aims to build the Filipino workforce with world-class competence and positive work values, as well as providing quality technical education and skills development.
Book 3. Conditions of Employment. The provisions of this title shall apply to employees in all establishments and undertakings, whether for profit or not, but not to government employees, managerial employees, field personnel, members of the family of the employer who is dependent on him for support, domestic helpers, persons in the personal service of another, and workers who are paid by results as determined by the Secretary of Labor in appropriate regulations. One of the examples of the Book 3 of the Labor Code of the Philippines is the conditions of employment. The term labor means physical toil. The services performed by workers for wages are distinguished from those rendered by entrepreneurs for profits. Labor may refer to a social class comprising those who do manual labor or work for wages. Let's start with the definition of the labor standard. When you say labor standards, this refers to the minimum terms and conditions of employment to which employees are legally entitled and with which employers must comply. It refers to your salary, your time in and time out, the number of hours that you're going to report to work, your benefits, your right to overtime pay, separation pay, retirement pay, and to avail leave of absence with pay. Book 4. Health, Safety, and Social Welfare Benefits. Every employer shall keep in its establishment such as first aid medicines and equipment as the nature and conditions of work may require. The employer shall furnish his employees in any locality with free medical and dental attendance. Physicians engaged by the employer shall develop and implement a comprehensive professional health program. The health personnel shall have the necessary training in industrial medicine and occupational safety and health. Under Chapter 1, Book 4, Health, Safety, and Social Welfare Benefits of the Labor Code of the Philippines, it is stated that every employer shall keep in his establishment such first aid medicines and equipment as the nature and conditions of work may require. For example, if an individual or group of people decided to establish a particular business, the employer shall provide first aid medicines, equipment, and facility within the organization to ensure and promote the safety of the employees. One of the commonly known facilities for this is an organizational clinic where medications and consultations take place.
Book 5. Labor Relations is the declaration of policy. It is the policy of the state which is to promote and emphasize the primacy of free collective bargaining and negotiations, to promote free trade unionism as an instrument for the enhancement of democracy and the promotion of social justice and development, to foster the free and voluntary organization of a strong and united labor movement, to promote the enlightenment of workers concerning their rights and obligations as union members and as employees, to provide an adequate administrative machinery for the expeditious settlement of labor or industrial disputes, to ensure a stable but dynamic and just industrial peace, to ensure the participation of workers in decision and policy-making processes affecting their rights, duties, and welfare. Under Book 5 in the Labor Code of the Philippines, it talks about negotiations, agreements, and unionizing to support their working condition inside the workplace. A common topic under this book is the CBA or the Collective Bargaining Agreement, wherein it discusses the compensation and benefits of workers, their rights and responsibilities, and other terms and conditions regarding underemployment. For example, an employee is part of union, therefore, if a conflict arises between the employee and employer, they must agree with fair condition wherein the subsequent approved contract will be attached to both parties. Book 6. Post-Employment. Provisions of this title shall apply to all establishments or undertakings, whether for profit or not. In cases of regular employment, the employer shall not terminate the services of an employee except for a just cause or when authorized by this title, which is the Article 294. In Book 6 under the Labor Code of the Philippines, it is said that regular employees must be secured by their rights, wherein an employer must not terminate them without any valid reason. For example, an employer terminated a certain employee due to his or her personal decision, which is not connected to the employee's performance inside the workplace, that is considered as an unfair labor practice.
Book 7 of the Labor Code of the Philippines under Article 296, terminating an employee worker's compensation leave, on the other hand, entails a new set of hazards. If you violate an employee rights, things might quickly spin out of control. For example, one employer paid a large price of 4.3 million when he fired a worker who was hurt on the job. The injured employee was a facility supervisor who slipped on ice while moving goods into a freezer and damaged his back. Despite his doctor limits, the company placed the man on temporary alternate duty before firing him, and his job tasks did not change. The court determined that the company had violated the employee's workers' compensation rights, and the employee was entitled to compensate.
The Labor Code of the Philippines is a legal code that determines all employment practices and labor relations in the Philippines. This is to help protect employees and employers while ensuring that neither is subject to unfair treatment or exploitation. Thus, by means of educating yourself about your rights as an employee or employer, you are more likely to protect yourself from legal liabilities of employment. If you are interested to know more about the Labor Code of the Philippines, just click the link attached in this video. Happy learning and thank you for watching.